Happening now, it's icy, wet, and soon will be wintry across our region. Coming up, a look at the current conditions and when will the freezing rain turn to snow. Also, why the push to put speed cameras in Jamestown school zones is tabled, for now. Plus, the story behind a brew continuing the life and legacy of a nationally known Buffalo Bills fan, how those in Jamestown are helping to give back and drink up this holiday season.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen. Those stories and more are coming up, but first, it was a slick, wet, and windy drive into work and school today for many across Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties. Coming up, we'll check in what it's like, but right now, in parts of our area, however, it's the first start with our chief weather forecaster, Dakota Hunter. And Dakota, we've been talking about all week long. The freezing rain today is quite possibly one of the most difficult weather types to deal with. I know it was basically like an ice rink on my way in this morning.
Yes, it is. Now, on the show yesterday, we talked about this, how freezing rain is the worst of all the winter weather elements because of the fact that it comes down as rain, but it immediately freezes on contact with the surface when you have air temperatures near or hovering around that freezing mark. This is the Olean Skycam, and traffic is okay over Union Street here, but again, this is where we're still seeing some of that freezing rain going on across the region. So in terms of ice totals, this is what we've got in so far this morning: 1/10 of an inch in Gary, also in Franklinville, 2/100 of an inch in Kennedy, 1/100 of an inch in Wellsville, and also in Buffalo as well. So even 1/10 of an inch of ice, and again, we talk about it all the time, that is enough to cause slippery roadways. So far, nobody has gotten to 1/4 of an inch, which is good, because 1/4 of an inch, that's when it starts to weigh down trees and power lines. You can see where that pink area is, further off to the east. This is where we're dealing with still some of that sleet and maybe some freezing rain. But even though temperatures are still hovering around freezing across the western southern tier, I would not be a bit surprised if some of this rain that's coming down actually is causing some slick spots as temperatures are still right around that freezing mark. So that winter weather advisory stays in place until 7 p.m. tonight for that sleet and freezing rain mix, also with some light snow. But the snow potential really gets going as we go into the weekend. We now have a winter storm watch in place for lake effect snow for pretty much of the southern tier. This is going to get going Friday night and last all the way through Monday. So this is going to be a long duration lake effect snow event, very similar to the one that we had just a few weeks ago that impacted the Buffalo metro area. So 32 was only the high yesterday. Started the day at 30, 60, and 12 below are the records. So through the afternoon today, a wintry mix of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. Watch out for slick spots. It will be cold and windy, 32 to 38, with wind gusts potentially around 50 miles an hour. Now, I'll show you future scan plus some preliminary snow totals for the lake effect event coming up in a few minutes. Bronson.
All right, Dakota, thank you. Our Justin Gould has been out there in the elements this morning. He joins us live now from Randolph with a look at what conditions are like out there on the street, Justin. And I heard for him, it's been a pretty slick walk to where he's at.
Hey, yeah, good afternoon, Bronson and Dakota. It really has been slick all morning long. Things are now finally starting to get moving as more private lots are starting to put down assault to try to help people. But really, from Ripley to Randolph today, it was a tough go for so many people. Current conditions right now is rain is continuing. It really has been a pretty moderate soaking rain here throughout much of the morning. And just before we got on the live broadcast, there were probably pin drop size, very small ice pellets that were falling from the sky mixed in with some of this rain. And in many cases, you look around, there's a glaze across driveways, across sidewalks, with major roads like Route 394, which I'm along with the town hall behind me, doing much better, as well as I-86. However, early on in the morning, that wasn't the case, as we had about over a good dozen or so accidents that were reported to our newsroom in places like 474 in Clymer, I-86. We had 2 simultaneous rollover accidents in the Fluvanna Fire District this morning. So certainly people were feeling the consequences of this travel through all of this. The other aspect of today, which I think goes into what Dakota was talking about, were the high winds, how that's been an issue for so many people. And the big worry, of course, is losing power with frigid temperatures now and into the weekend. We do have about 3,300 people as of last check with National Grid without power, mainly in the northern parts of Chautauqua County. However, closer to Jamestown, Ellery, there was a couple hundred people reported without power as of noon hour. We'll, of course, continue to monitor that, and National Grid tries to give the best estimated times for that aspect of it. But winds gusting over 50 miles an hour, and you definitely feel it when you're out here on the street. Between the whipping winds and the rain, you kind of have to dress for both rain, but also underneath, I got a winter jacket on. However, when the gloves freeze over, Bronson, it's always so difficult because then those are cold, and that makes it more and more difficult. So, of course, we'll continue to monitor the weather conditions throughout the day here across platforms at WNY News Now. But my advice for folks, if you do have to get out, major routes are clear to do so. However, at the end of the day, it seems like a good day just to go home and snuggle up with all this winter weather on the way. But for now, reporting live in the town of Randolph, Cattaraugus County, I'm Justin Gould, WNY News.
Justin, thank you. Be sure to get back inside and get warm. You kind of look a little cold there. But be sure to stay up to date with the latest weather forecasts and conditions in our region by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app for free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation has announced that the cleanup effort at the former Jamestown Brewery has been completed. The DEC worked to clean up the contaminated site, disposing of approximately 430 tons of hazardous materials and 1,584 tons of non-hazardous material at the former Jamestown Brewing Company building in downtown Jamestown. Some of the flooring also had to be replaced due to groundwater contamination. Since then, officials inspected the building, conducting an environmental easement to prevent future exposure to contamination. All of this is possible due to New York's Brownfield Cleanup Program, which encourages volunteers to clean up contaminated brownfield properties so they can be reused and redeveloped. The site, located at the intersection of Washington and 3rd Streets, has been used for a variety of business ventures, including a dry cleaner, photography studio, automotive repair shop, and taxi garage over the years. Most recently, it was a brewing company, which closed due to financial hardships. The previous owner had legal action taken against them for failure to pay mortgage on the building. Jamestown lawmakers have decided to table 2 ordinances involving the installation of cameras to improve school safety following questions over the legality of these surveillance systems. The 2 proposals would install speed zone cameras within school zones and install traffic cameras to bus stop sign arms. Both the Public Safety and Finance Committees tabled these ordinances at their Monday night work session due to questions about the legality and liability of installing these cameras. For the school zone cameras, Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist suggested setting up a demonstration of the system, allowing the city to get a number on the amount of speed zone violators to determine if the whole system is even worth setting up. While state legislators are working on a statewide home rule allowing municipalities to act on the subject, others still need to be convinced.
So it would not be to ticket anyone, it would be to see the number of cars that are actually speeding in school zones. It's not something we need to do, but it's something that legislators have asked us, in particular other legislators that have been looking at this home rule legislation, which is where's your data on cars speeding?
For the bus stop arm cameras, local lawmakers and school officials are concerned over the liability of an outside company putting up cameras on the city's buses. Mayor Sundquist assured the City Council that the company responsible, Bus Patrol, is used in other municipalities, such as Warren, Pennsylvania. One of Jamestown's largest food donation drives kicks off today. This is the 10th year organizer Keith Martin and Dan Keefe have hosted the Holiday Haul, collecting donations for the St. Susan Center. From now until Saturday, volunteers will be set up outside of Jamestown Cycle Shop parking lot in Brooklyn Square, accepting canned goods and other non-perishables for Jamestown's only soup kitchen. In the past year, inflation has hit the center hard. Just like households, they are struggling to keep the rising cost of food and other services in check. Because of this obstacle, organizers are hopeful that the generous Jamestown community will turn out. Currently, the St. Susan Center is on track to serve over 34,000 meals this year, with an average of 120 meals each day, a 15% increase from last year. The group will start accepting donations December 15th and 16th from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. and Saturday, December 17th from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. before the final haul is measured and counted. Well, as WNY News Now continues, our New York Capitol correspondent takes a look at the opioid settlement discussions and what it means for our region. And later, have you finished Christmas shopping yet? If not, you better get a move on, as important holiday shipping deadlines are here. Stay with us, as WNY News Now will be right back.
Wishing you a safe and happy holiday season. WNY News Now, the Jolly Team, where coverage comes first.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed.
98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
Looking for a fair and honest auto mechanic? Look no further than DeWyas Auto Service. Located at 140 Main Street in Randolph, our family-owned business is ready for all of your automotive needs. From general service to more complex repairs, count on DeWyas Auto to keep you on the road. We not only keep your cars running smoothly, but also looking great with our expert detailing crew. Send us a message on Facebook or call us today at 716-358-2292 to set up an appointment. DeWyas Auto Service. Fair, honest, and the best prices guaranteed.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
The New York State Opioid Settlement Advisory Board met on Wednesday to further discuss how the state will allocate the settlement funds. Our New York State Capitol correspondent Elise Klein breaks down the highlights and speaks to advocates about the areas they hope they'll receive funding.
Last week, the State Office of Addiction Services and Support sent a letter to the Opioid Settlement Advisory Board, rejecting 2 of their recommendations to the state about how to allocate the settlement funds. In a meeting today, Advisory Board members discussed their response. The Opioid Settlement Advisory Board sent their recommendation report to the state on November 1st. They have 14 days to respond from the date they received the state's letter. The letter essentially rejects the board's recommendations to fund harm reduction efforts under the Department of Health and overdose prevention centers. The commissioner from New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports says the state rejected the board's recommendations because of state and federal laws, but that harm reduction continues to be a priority for the state. Overdose prevention centers are not legal under federal law, but New York City hosts the only 2 in the country under its jurisdiction. Advocates from those prevention centers say they are critical to helping individuals struggling with addiction.
Overdose prevention centers save lives. They save the lives of people directly impacted by the opioid epidemic.
C says at On Point they have saved 655 lives since they opened a year ago.
We are having an impact on the opioid epidemic. We are having an impact on the reduction of lives lost to overdose.
A majority of advisory board members said today they also feel that prevention centers play a significant role in saving lives from the opioid epidemic. In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
Elise, thank you. This week, the Wolf administration is touting its support for small, diverse, and veteran-owned businesses across Pennsylvania. According to the administration, over $4.5 billion have been invested in small businesses, small, diverse, and veteran-owned businesses since Wolf took office in 2015. Through an executive order in 2015, Wolf created the Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Businesses Opportunities to help these businesses seek contract opportunities within the Commonwealth. Officials say the contracts are incredibly important for these small businesses, which play a vital role in Pennsylvania's communities.
We talk about the value of small businesses. There are some things that you just can't measure. And that's the value that they bring and add to the quality of life to communities and neighborhoods all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Most recently, Pennsylvania spent $955 million in contracts with small, diverse, and veteran-owned businesses in the fiscal year 2021. Well, the clock is ticking to get your holiday gifts delivered on time. UPS, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Services are offering ground next day and same-day shipping to make sure presents arrive on time. All three delivery services has posted their holiday shipping deadlines, which are almost the same as last year. For FedEx, the last day for ground delivery was Wednesday. For UPS, the last day for ground delivery is Saturday, December 17th. UPS, on the other hand, suggests getting an estimate from its website. With Christmas falling on a Sunday this year, you'll need to have your packages sent a few days earlier if you're planning to have them mailed in time. Stephen Twitch, Boss, a dancer and longtime DJ for The Ellen DeGeneres Show, has died. Early reports are that the Boss took his own life on Tuesday. WNY News Now's Tom Kowalski spoke with mental health associates who are raising awareness about mental health during the holidays.
Despite the lights, presents, and promise of holiday cheer during December, the month can be difficult for many, especially for those dealing with mental health issues. One of the victims of mental health struggles is Stephen Twitch Boss, best known for his role as the energetic DJ on The Ellen Show.
He was a positive, shining ray of light. He walked in and he would light up a room with his positivity and his big personality.
But sometimes, images don't match reality.
A lot of times people are really struggling with things under the surface that other people, don't know that they're struggling with.
Local advocates for mental health, like the Crime Victim Center's Paul Lukash, says this time of year is difficult for all, but especially those dealing with mental health struggles.
People feel worthless. People feel hopeless. As weird as that sounds, because, Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah are, all festivals of light and joy and happiness and all these good things are happening. And people don't feel that. They feel exactly the opposite.
So why do some feel this way this time of year?
The holidays amplify both good and the bad. All the more reason why we need to be checking in on people and making sure that they are okay, especially if you expect them to be out at holiday parties or gift wrapping parties or family events and they don't show up.
And what can you do to help those who are struggling?
Please, if you know somebody who needs to be, reached out to, be that person. Find the things that they can get them to those services. These things are preventable. And as we know, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Tom Kowalski, WNY News Now.
Coming up, our Washington, D.C. correspondent is breaking down just released climate crisis report. And later, the story behind a new brew continuing the life and legacy of a nationally known Buffalo Bills fan. We explain the Jamestown connection next. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast. When will this rain begin to change to snow? Our Dakota Hunter will explain right after this.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
Slow down, and move over.
When you see signs,
Lights,
vests.
Please, give us some room.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
When you need help,
It's our job
to help you.
to save you.
Despite the danger.
This danger is real.
Do your part.
Please,
Slow down. Slow down. And move over.
move over.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
This is a First Defense weather alert.
Welcome back, everybody. Wanted to start off with another picture from our friend Don Armstrong. Was able to capture a nice little bird in a tree yesterday. Wanted to thank Don for sending that in to us. And of course, if you have any pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, Hunters WX on Twitter, the First Defense weather page on Facebook, and always use the hashtag MyLocalWX. Now, we've been dealing with freezing rain this morning, and we showed this graphic yesterday, but it's nice to kind of remind you what it is. So everything starts as snow up at the cloud level, because up there the temperatures are below freezing, so it all starts as snow. It starts to encounter warmer air as it starts to fall, so it melts into rain. But when you have ground temperatures or air temperatures near freezing down low, it starts to stick on the surface, and that is when it becomes icy and slick. So it's rain that freezes on contact, and that becomes a big problem. Justin mentioned it during his live shot that we do have some power outages across the region. Latest number 885 across Chautauqua County, 99 in Cattaraugus, 20 in Warren. The bigger power outages are across Erie, and this is likely due to a lot of the wind gusts. Over 1,000 people there without power in Erie County, Pennsylvania. Now, this is crowdsourcing data, so just take it lightly, but that gives you an idea of who is without power right now. 34 degrees. We're still hovering around the freezing mark, but at least we're above freezing now. But it's windy. South wind to 16, a wind gust to 24. Makes it feel like 24 degrees out there. So next thing we're keeping an eye on is, of course, this winter weather advisory stays in place until 7 o'clock tonight. And again, the better chance for the freezing rain now is going to be further off to the east. But as we go into the weekend, it turns into a lake effect event. So we have this winter storm watch for potential heavy lake effect snow starting Friday night and running all the way through Tuesday night. So it's really going to be a long duration winter weather event that we're going to be dealing with. A live sweep of First Defense Doppler shows you we're still dealing with this pink area further out to the east. That's the sleet and freezing rain. And again, even though we're still showing rain across the western southern tier where temperatures are still hovering around freezing, we still might be dealing with some limited slick spots. So just take it slow out there this afternoon. And if you don't have to go anywhere today, just stay home. It would be a nice day for that. You can see we got two areas of low pressure hooked up right here. This is all in association with it. And after this system moves on through, we're going to see that lake effect starting to set up once again. So let's take you through Future Scan here. The newest run picks up on that sleet and freezing rain further off to the east. We may mix in a few wet snow showers across the western southern tier this afternoon, but look for mainly rain showers. Tomorrow we'll start with a few light rain and snow showers, but tomorrow shouldn't be all that bad. But notice what happens here as we go into Friday night. We start to see the early signs of this lake effect starting to set up, and we still need to fine tune this, but it does look like the better chance for lake effect, at least early on, will likely be from the northern section of the southern tier up towards the Buffalo metro area, but we still need to fine tune that as we go through the next few days. So in terms of additional ice accumulations, maybe an additional few hundredths of an inch, that'll do it. But again, even that will be enough to cause some black ice and limited slick spots. This is preliminary numbers through Sunday, so this is not the entire event, but these are preliminary numbers. You can see the bullseye likely across the northern section of western New York, but even across the southern tier, we could be looking just through Sunday an additional 1 to 5 inches. But again, these totals still need to be fine-tuned, so check back on that. The next 7 days, powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions, you see the lake effect setting up Saturday all the way through Tuesday. That's really going to be the main duration of the event. As temperatures hover into the lower 30s and upper 20s, we may see a few scattered lake snow showers, Bronson, by next Wednesday.
All right, thank you, Dakota. And now we'll grab you some headlines from around the nation. When the new Congress is in place next year, the House Select Committee on the Climate Crisis will no longer be around. But before the committee wraps up, they released a final report on what Congress can work on to fight climate crisis. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp has more.
The House Select Committee on the Climate Crisis says the climate crisis is unmistakably here.
We've already experienced raging wildfires, hazardous air quality, ocean acidification that's harming fisheries.
They say climate disasters are putting America's security and stability at risk and threatening our economy, our way of life, and our communities.
Climate disasters are inflicting billions in damages across the country.
In a final report from the committee, they list their accomplishments which address climate change.
We passed the bipartisan infrastructure law to make communities more resilient and electrify transportation. We passed the CHIPS Act to empower our industries to lead the clean energy transition. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the largest clean energy and climate investment in U.S. history.
Part of the bipartisan infrastructure law has a direct impact on our Great Lakes, which are near and dear to our local communities. That legislation will help pay for harbor operations and maintenance needs. Although the committee says when Republicans take control of the House in January, this committee will dissolve. They say there's room for bipartisan work on combating climate change. They see an opportunity for bipartisan climate change work in the upcoming Farm Bill.
Farmers are leading the charge now. They are awake to the harsh impacts of water shortages, extreme heat on their crops and products.
The group lays out a huge list of recommendations for the next Congress, like moving more towards electrification of cars and buildings, more pollution-reducing policies, and more.
We must continue to fight for climate action that is bold, that is science-based, that is rooted in justice, and that it's beneficial to workers and families.
At the Capitol, Rachel Knapp reporting.
Rachel, thank you. A fundraiser to honor the legacy of Bills superfan Urza Castro, better known as Pancho, will take place in Jamestown this weekend. Our Julia Grass shares the story behind the brew.
Collaborative Children's Solutions owner Patrick Smeraldo is teaming up with Nick Ryan of Taquito Lindo in Grand Island and 12 Gates Brewery to host a fundraiser to further the efforts already being made in Pancho Villa's memory.
When it came down to naming the beer for the restaurant, there's no bigger name in Buffalo or Western New York than Pancho, as far as like the Mexican community, the Bills community.
5.14% of the proceeds from the Pancho's Legacy Lager gets donated each year on May 14th to honor the day Pancho passed away. Last year, the funds went to Roswell Park Cancer Center, and this year they will go to Harrison's Playmakers. Harrison Phillips and Pancho had a special connection, as Pancho had the honor of announcing his draft pick at the 2018 NFL Draft to the Bills. While a Buffalo Bill, Phillips created Harrison's Playmakers, an organization that gives kids with developmental differences and special needs the opportunity to play sports and share experiences they would likely not have otherwise had. He was also nominated twice for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
There's one in Omaha where he's from, there's now one in Minneapolis where he is, and there's one in Buffalo. So he's taken hundreds of kids shopping in 3 different cities. He doesn't have to do any of that. but he is to give back to the community.
Smeraldo has previously collaborated with Harrison's Playmakers on Veterans Day weekend when he walked from Jamestown to Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park during the Bills and Vikings game.
I was speaking to my friend that knew Harrison and her child was a playmaker and stuff, and she said, there's a beautiful picture of Harrison when Pancho passed, of opening day when he came out of the tunnel in the sombrero. And there was just one more thing that said, this is the project we need to be doing.
The fundraiser will take place at the pub in Jamestown during Saturday night's primetime Bills-Dolphins game at 8 p.m. Pancho's Legacy Lager will be the beer of choice. Julia Gress, WNY News Now.
All right, Julia, thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember to check us out on our app and website whenever you need a news or weather update. But that's what we'll leave you with today is a look from outside our studio. Nice and wet out there. We'll see you tomorrow.